So you start with getting your body strong, healthy, and fit, and feeling good. That gives you a baseline good sensation. If you feel good, your body feels good. It's stretched, it's danced, it's yummy food, it's got a nice bed, nobody's bothering it. It's just relaxed. Now you have emotions. Any and all trapped and repressed emotions are preventing you from the next phase of your journey. They must come out. They must be known with full, mature awareness, and they must be accepted as, well, you accept you've got fingers, right? You accept you have eyes. You need to accept you have emotions, and some of them will be angry, and some will look ugly, and some will be intense. Right? As a matter of fact, if you want a good reference point as to all the different types of emotions you can feel, all the different characters and characteristics and sentiments, you're familiar with Tolkien's work, The Lord of the Rings? Yeah. The Lord of the Rings? No? The Hobbit? The Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I've never seen the movie.
You've never seen the movie or read the books? They're very interesting. He spent 40 years creating a world, and everything and every character is their ego, and we all have each and every one of them. From the white wizard to the monsters, and everything. It's all there. Everything is part of you, and you have to identify all of your inner characters with all of their emotions. These are going to be the parts that the mind is going to be tricky. Apart from that, you have baseline emotions. Just to be clear, every child, a baby, when it's born, the only thing it can do is just cry. It doesn't know how to smile yet. It takes a few weeks before it can smile for the first time. Start laughing. So there's flight, fear and flight. That's the first emotion. I used to raise little turtles, little Japanese painted turtles. And when they're babies, they're this big, they're so cute. You go to reach them and they run, they're terrified. They're like, of course, they're this big, so you grab them anyway and they try to get out of your hand and they just stop. And you do this for a few weeks and they reach a certain size. And when they reach a certain size, they're big enough, one day, you go to reach for it. Instead of running away, they turn on you and they go, they're this big, and they're going, it's evolved into fight mode. It's now big enough to fight. Fear, the first emotion. Anger, rage, fight, second emotion. Deeply hardwired. It's in your guts. It's part of your body. Every invertebrate, every crab, every bee, every ant, every animal out there, I don't know if an earthworm has the capacity to be angry, but they definitely try to run away from you when you try to catch them and they wash out in the rain. They try to catch them to put them back in the soil, they'd run away. I've never had one try to bite. So everything above an earthworm feels anger. It can feel rage, it can express it. It can try to bite you, it can try to scratch you, it will try to kill you if it can. If it needs to, it will attack. Why would that be bad? You can attack me and jump on me, and I have no idea how I'm going to respond. I have no clue. I might laugh, I might fight back, I might tickle, I might kiss, I might pinch. It depends on the situation. I've been attacked and I've done nothing. I've been in situations where I needed to attack. I've attacked. The body does what it needs to do. I can't tell you what's going to happen. But I can very clearly predict what's going to happen if you try to approach my child or my woman in any way that I feel, that I determine that is in any way dangerous. You're in danger of being damaged for life, which might not last very long depending on how I feel about you in that moment. I have the capacity to attack you, to defend my child. 100% full rage. And the fact that I'm fully committed to destroying you if you try to hurt me or hurt my family makes you, because you can see someone who is ready to do whatever it takes to protect his child. And so you're not going to fuck with someone like that. So I never have to do anything because, right? There's a saying in Africa, the resting lion is undisturbed by the barking of the small dog. It's just not concerned, he's not worried, it's not a big deal. Like, it's a small dog. But if you try to approach its cub, now you're dealing with a full-grown lion, right? So why would I repress anything that would allow me to protect him? my precious. I can't do that if I repress my anger. I'm kind of incapacitated. I'm emasculated. I'm not fully there. Junter and I chose to adopt this child. Well, she chose to adopt us. To come live with us. She decided to stay with us. After 3 months with us, she called her mother and she called her grandparents and said, I'm staying with my auntie and with my uncle. They know how to take care of me. You go do whatever you want. I'm not going to live with you anymore. So she stayed. But this child that used to bite and scream and kick approaches me and says, you have a rough spot on your nail. So we'll get a little nail file and she'll give me a manicure. And then she'll say, keep me here, please. She'll burst into giggles because she's so sensitive now that this is enough just to pure enjoyment. And she'll check my hands to make sure I don't have any rough spots so that she can then ask me to tickle her. That's how sensitive we can be, right? But she wouldn't have that sensitivity if she wasn't inspired, pushed a little bit, right, to pull out her angers. Right? Does that make sense? I cleared myself as an individual of my angers. I had none about myself or about other people. So what do I care? I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm free. I'm doing great. Why should I be worried about your problems? What can you do to bother me? Not really much. Then I met Jantra, and she was full of poison. She'd been through a lot. So I gave her the recipe. I created it, helped her create. We co-created a space so that she could find her center and start going into the deeper, darker, and she cleared out her poisons. It took her about 6 months to clear herself out fully. She's been through a lot. And then we discovered that there was another layer of anger and frustration and fear and control and all sorts of nonsense, all sorts of yuckiness, that only happens between couples. Yeah. So we decided to approach this, once again, as an adventure, an experience, an experiment. So what we would do is, we would clean our house, extra clean. Take care of the garden, bring in flowers, make a yummy soup, have some chocolates, do some yoga, stretch, relax, draw a bubble bath, have a glass of wine, eat some chocolate, and fight. Fight. Say what needed to be said. Consensual permission to slap each other. Slap me. Slap me. Slap me the way you've always wanted to slap any man. I'm going to slap you now. Ready? Here we go. Bam. All with awareness. It took us 8 months. We did it once a week for 8 months. We cleared the territory of anger, fear, jealousy, insecurity. That was all a mind construct of relation that carries the baggage, all the collective unconsciousness of all the shit that men and women have been doing to each other. I don't know, since Adam slapped Eve for giving him a bad apple, since right? Since since a boy monkey knocked the girl monkey off the branch and dragged her into a cave. Since, I have no idea. Like, all the shit we've been doing to each other is there. It's part of the territory. And you got to clear it out. But you can only clear it out when you know yourself, your angers, your emotions, your feelings, your fears. Right? You cleared yourself. You've done your Satori 1. Now you need help. You need somebody else to help you with Satori 2. This is why I have very little faith and belief in people who cloister themselves away, restrict their diet, their money, their love, their sex, their relationships, and then pretend to talk about love and unconditional love and divine love. Like, I just don't see how that happens because I could not find it that way. I had to wade through the mud. I had to dive into the mud and figure it out. Once we were clear, Like, that's it. And there's recipes and there's protocols for how to do that. And I'll describe those in a separate segment. But you get the basic idea. That you want to be able to clear yourself. And you want to be able to clear yourself in the context of how you relate to another person, a partner, a significant other, a relationship that you're going to be in. But of course, you clear yourself, they have to clear themselves, and then you both have to willingly enter a contract. We discovered that we had anger. I had anger, she had anger. It wasn't my anger, it wasn't her anger, it was just, that's what couples do. They just get angry at each other. They beat each other up, they fight. Like domestic violence is the worst problem that we have. You're more likely to be hurt, damaged, abused, raped, beaten, killed by someone in your family than by anybody else. Crazy as that sounds. So all of that energy is part of the collective unconscious. It's all part of what you're carrying in your mind. So before you can address that, though, you have to be very clear about just you, alone, all by yourself. What exactly are you angry about? What exactly are you sad about? Why have you been collecting these fears, these insecurities?
Let them go, because when I ask the why, then my mind comes up with something.
It does, and you want to listen to it and write it all out. Your mind is there to serve you. You have to start training your mind to start working for you. Come up with all the different reasons why I do this. Why do I keep doing this? How do I keep doing it? What did I learn? How did I learn to do this? Why do I do this? When did I learn to hold my breath? What happened? And you'll go back and you'll remember that you were a child, and I can give you an experience that I remembered clearly. Oh, and one thing. The moment that I understood that I don't have to do anything with my mind to find that space. All I have to do is not use my mind to get out of being centered, balanced, and intuitive. I remembered each and every moment immediately in my life. It all lit up like I just knew. And I remembered moments from my birth, from my childhood, from my upbringing, and I remembered a series of things. I remember being shaken as a child by my father. I was 6 months old. So I had problems with my neck. I remembered a bunch of things. It all comes up. You learned certain behaviors for certain reasons. I was 6 months old. I was crying. I was unhappy, disturbed, angry, scared, whatever my story was. And around 6 months is the age that anger comes in. Babies start getting anger around the age of 6. And they use that anger to manipulate their parents. So they start screaming and yelling, and my mother wasn't around. And I remembered this later, and I had a special experience with special medicines that brought me back to it again, and I relived it. So we're going to talk about how those can be used as well. They're very important factors. I remember screaming and getting louder and angrier, and my father trying to quiet me down, and I just got worse. So he shook me and slammed me down on the bed screaming. And I never lost my control again. I withheld and controlled my anger for the rest of my life from that incident. Now later I read, and it might be in the Emotional Wellness book or in another book from Osho, he talks about a German psychologist called Gottlieb. And Gottlieb wrote a thesis, a dissertation. He basically created a prescription for how to deal with children, where he verbalized, he formalized it, German man, he formalized it, this was in the 1800s, 1900s. And what he did is he verbalized what's been happening for thousands of years. And he explains, says, a child will develop the emotion of anger by the age of 6 months. At that moment, the child will defy you. You have a choice as a parent. If you allow that child to defy you, he will never obey you. He or she will never obey you. They will not accept your authority. They will not fit into society. They will drop out. They become drug dealers and drug users and sex fiends. And you have to. You will turn into wild animals. You must break that animal once. You have to show it You have to give it the fear of God. You have to show it that there is a greater power than it once. My experience was a shaking. I remember many, many, many years later, meeting up with my father, his third wife, his fourth child. I was 8 or 9 years old at the time. And we went out for sushi. And the child was complaining, difficult. I don't want to eat this, I don't want to eat that. I don't like this. My father said, come outside. And he walked back in 5 minutes later. The boy sat down and ate all his food without saying anything. I remember my father openly declaring, it's great to have an intelligent son. I took him outside and I gave him 2 options. The first option is, you go inside, you eat your food nicely, and everything's okay. The second option is, I beat the shit out of you and I put you in the trunk. You decide. And the child already knew what violence was from my father, so the child capitulated, right? On his head. I had experiences remembering my mother. She would turn into a fiend. She was so fierce. She's a small woman, but I'm a baby. Completely taking away my choice, my capacity to be angry, to express myself, to try. It was just like damaged as a child, broken. So you need to find if and when or how often and by whom and by all the people that have imposed violently their will on you to repress your emotions. Otherwise you would never repress them. I repress nothing. If in the next 5 seconds I need to explode like a thunderclap this morning, I will. And afterwards I'll just laugh like a spring shower and a rainbow will come out. There's no, it's completely finished. That's how emotions are supposed to be. Change that will move. It will pass through. Some of them will be intense and others will be like good music. It'll be violin, cellos.
And it's since I was thinking I will avoid doing it because when I'm angry, I am full-blown, hardcore angry. And it's done in 10 minutes. And then I'm perfectly fine.
Perfect. So then you know what to do. Now, go in and find every possible reason you could have to be angry and be as angry as you need to and finish it. When you're done, you're done. It's very relaxing. It's very cathartic. It's very yummy. And dance and jump up and down. And let it build.
Find actively reasons to be angry.
Yes. Find actively all the reasons you have to be angry, every way you've repressed yourself, and let it out without hurting yourself or anybody else, of course. There has to be some a witnessing awareness. Jantra raised in the jungles, Khmer Rouge agents trying to hunt them down, massacres in villages that she was witness to, Thai military finding Cambodian refugees and throwing them off the cliffs at the Prahevihar temple that they stole, to the landmines below. You can still find bits of bone. This is what she was raised in. When Jantra gets angry, when she used to get angry, now it's past, she would take a machete out and cut down a dead tree. Dude, just kill it. I've never seen somebody with a machete work like that before. She learned. She's seen people using machetes on other people. You know, she's not afraid to grab a glass, break it, and cut you with it if she needs to. She knows. She's witnessed it. It's part of it. It was the spice, the chili, the ginger in her soup. Some people had porridge. No, there isn't enough honey in the porridge. And she had like red hot chili peppers. So, right? So you whatever your level of spiciness that you got, it's there. You got to find it. Whatever you can. Now, it's not just you. It's what your parents went through. My great grandparents were Soviet Jews living in France that were captured by Hitler's troops, and they died in Auschwitz on my father's side. My grandfather was a film producer in Hollywood with my grandmother. He joined the RAF. He went into the battle. He was captured by the Germans. He escaped, and he liberated Auschwitz. He came back with some baggage. I was born into a family. That was my father's side. My grandmother, my father's mother, her family, her father, my great grandfather, who I met as a child, was a Spanish Republican journalist in the time of Franco. Franco took over Spain and hunted him down, and hunted down his children. They were caught, captured, they escaped, and his family was given political asylum to go live in Peru to found the School of Journalism. But they lived through ugliness, through wars, and stuff. So I was born into a family that was angry, depressed, repressed, unhappy, and a happy child ready to jump up and down and laugh, and knock things over, was not allowed. I was not raised in a happy environment. So I had a sadness, I had a heaviness, I was carrying weights. I had to learn how to get rid of them. And I will describe to you the tools, the experiences that I used to do that, and share with you what you can do for yourself. But the bottom line is, before you can actually start using these tools, you need to have a handle on what your body needs to be at its best so that it can go into its yuckiness. You got to clear out everything you can, just you in the ocean, or in the shower, or under the waterfall, or killing a coconut, or whatever you got to do. Right? That makes sense? You can clear all of that out. Once you clear that out as an individual, now all of that noise, all of that distortion is cleared out of your channels. Now you can start working on the mind. And the mind is the trickiest. Because it'll use all of those experiences and make you feel that they're real. And you have to know the difference between real anger and projected anger. Real happiness and I'm just happy. I remember this person who is a joyologist. She's writing mantras about how happy she is 10 times a day, and she's so happy. I'm so happy. And I stay happy, and I stay happy, and it's a mess. A mess. But there's coaches that you can go to that will teach you how to attain beautiful states and step up and always, and they're repressing their angers, their fears, their sadness. And you can do that until you die. And when you die, your body loses its power, and the voltage of your battery starts to go down, and your supercomputer mind starts to fade, and you can no longer repress your emotions anymore. And guess what comes out? Everything you repressed. That's a recipe for what we could call going to hell for all eternity, because all sense of time disappears when your mind is gone, and all you're left with is who are you and what are you when all of your distractions, diversions, all your money is useless, when all your pets and lovers and playthings and blinky things are gone and mean nothing. It's just you and your emotions in a body that hasn't breathed properly, hasn't eaten properly, hasn't stretched properly, has repressed anger, sadness, has indulged in things. And then all of that comes out, and that's your last experience. So there's something to be said about just spring cleaning. Clear it out now. Right? Because I guarantee you, the world that we're in, more shit is going to get piled and thrown at you than you can imagine. In fact, I suspect more is coming than what you've experienced up to now. I expect some environmental holocausts, environmental challenges. I expect financial crashes that are built into the system. I expect more wars, more genocides, more terrorism, more violence. It's growing, it's not getting less. As a matter of fact, I can trust the religious organizations, the government parties, the political parties, the banksters, the big corporate interests to keep doing what they're doing. Because in the last 50 years, or the last 45 years, since I can look at people and go, you look alive and you look dead, I only see things getting more intense and getting worse. I don't see them getting better. It doesn't mean I can't appreciate a flower, or a sunrise or a lightning bolt or a scorpion or whatever. I can appreciate anything that comes my way. I can just tell you that we're growing in the number of people that are growing in their level of unhappiness, and the quality of life standards are dropping. We're headed towards some yuckiness, some storms. Before it gets better, I think it's going to get a little worse. So if I clear myself up to now, at least I'm at my peak to make the best of what's going to come. And help others figure out what they need to do to make the best, right? The more of us that there's a storm coming. Right? And the more I know about myself, the more I'm clear about how my radar and my sensors work with other people and figuring out who I'm going to work with, who I'm going to bring into my life. Once you're no longer emotionally repressed, you can sense it. You can see it in other people. For example, having had a violent father and mother, myself, John Trump, allows us to identify people who have that same type of violence. Nampu needs to go to school, and she needs to go by boat to the beach and a driver, and we don't take her every day. We have to find people that we trust. We don't put her in the hands of somebody who is a sexual predator, a violent person, someone who abuses children. I can see them from 100 yards, so I can smell their violence from 100 yards away. So can Jantra, because I know what it smells like because I had it. I imprinted it. My little sponge landed in a yucky puddle. In my family, there's violence, abuse, suicides, beatings, sexual abuse. There's every poison that's out there. There's a little bit in the soup. It's like hair. Everybody has it in different densities, different qualities, right? Different amounts throughout the body. But everybody has all these poisons. When you find out what your poisons are, you have a certain superpower, which is you can identify, you can smell them, you can sense them. How to explain? It's like I can see your aura. It's kind of this color or that color, or I can smell your energy. It smells like it's a little bit off. Have you ever been around someone that feels like a little dangerous or a little bit off? When you identify the poisons that you have, the emotional ones, you can identify the emotional states of others. Because, well, when you know what all the colors are in the rainbow, you can, right? I used to see green, and then I took drawing and painting classes, and now I see hundreds of greens. Because I learned to draw with different colors. Now, and when I look at the forest, every time I remember how I only used to see one color green. Plants were green, boring, who cares? Botany. Not my most interesting. Now it's like, wow, look at this flower, look at that leaf, look at that shape. I'm tuned into it. So I do the same with my emotions. So does Jantra. I have an emotional radar that I choose. I can use it to determine how I'm going to navigate, how I'm going to relate to you or somebody else. Does that make sense? People are very good at hiding their emotions, but so am I. So I can tell when somebody is creating an emotion that's covering another, that's hiding a repression, that's hiding another, because it leaves a trace, it leaves a trail, it leaves a scent. Right? So being able to know this about myself allows me to identify it in others. The ones that are willing to go through and clear it, I'm happy to spend time and clear it. The ones that start getting angry and repressed and responding with anger and violence, I can say, hey, guess what? God's over. I got something else to do. Or, no, I don't want, I'm not going to trust my little girl with this person. I ask her, she's not emotionally repressed, so I ask her how she feels with certain people. And she says, I don't like that person. She was never alone with that person again.
Children are amazing with that.
Yes, but until they're taught to repress their emotions. And then they become adults that miss and end up marrying or getting attached to or having relationships with people who then hurt them, beat them, hurt their children. Yeah. So clear yourself. This is how you clear yourself. And it becomes very useful for your next experience. There's nothing you're going to learn from the inside that isn't going to be applicable to the outside. This is where your inner richness comes through. I can feel someone, and I can tell just how I feel about that person if I can trust them with everything I have on a business deal or not. get a single blip on my radar of a flavor, of an emotion, of a tendency, of a repression that's not real, guess what? It feels up. I studied gemology in Bangkok for a year, diamonds and rubies and emeralds, and I was interested in small portable wealth. And I discovered something very interesting. There is this entire universe of gems and counterfeiters and experts that try to identify how they're being counterfeited and so on and so forth. So I spent a year studying this, and I learned so much about people, about myself, and about people, because we all do the same thing. So in the gemology world, and this will be the last story, it's clearly understood that if somebody offers you a diamond, and it's the purest, most valuable diamond, and it's worth millions, and you're going to get a great deal, right? So you inspect that. It's up to you to decide whether it's authentic or not. So a brilliant cut diamond has 53 facets. So you look through the microscope, through the stereoscope, with your loupe at the first facet, and it's perfect. So the diamond is worth millions. Turn it to the next facet. You look through it, and it's perfect. It's authentic. It's worth millions. You keep turning it until you get to one facet, which could be number 53. It doesn't matter what number it is. And you'll look at it, and you see a hint, a trace, that it's been tampered with, that it's been treated. It's now worth $10. At the first hint, as soon as you see that something's been treated, that something's been manipulated, that it was cooked or radiated or treated with something, it's no longer a natural, authentic, untreated diamond. Understand that, right? So it's no longer worth millions, it's worth $100, it's worth nothing. If you want a fake diamond, or, a treated diamond to put in your fish tank, then I'll give you $100. No, it's worth billions. Okay, good luck, I don't want it, it's not worth billions to me. When you find someone that has anger or fear or lust or greed, well, you can't find anybody who doesn't have it. Let's be clear about it. Everybody has anger, lust, fear, greed, shame, rage, hatred. It's not possible to not have hatred. It's built in. It's part of the default package. It's the software package that you receive. How else can you express yourself? You trying to kill my girl? I'm going to show you hatred like there's no other. You'll know it. But if I'm the kind of person that represses my anger, my lust, my shame, my guilt, my fear, I'm lying to myself. And I'm trying to trick you. And I'm presenting a face, a facet of myself, which is unreal. And I'm a liar, I'm a fraud. So I can catch that person, I can feel that person, and I can choose to step away, or if the person really is important, wants to do business, wants to be in my life, I can say, we need to have a conversation. You have some repressed anger. You have some violence. There's something in you. I can see it. I can smell it. What are you going to do about it? If that person is willing to do the work to clear themselves, it means they're not trying to cover up their anger, their fear, their hatred, their rage, their damage, this, that, or another. In which case, they're a human being like anybody else. They're a diamond mine to me. They're worth millions. Jantra was willing to go into her anger, her rage, and her fear. The fact that she was sold into slavery by her parents, the fact that she was brutalized and hurt in more ways than you would even want to imagine, did not deter her from her drive, her hope, her wish, her desire to be clear of it. So she went into it. She took it all out. You can too. That's right. That's courage. That's authentic. There's people who are going to pretend to do the work. I'm okay with that. Somewhere else. Right? So there's going to be yuckiness. If you pretend it's not there, that's okay. There's lots of people that are pretending there's no yuckiness in the world.
But it's also a different way of expressing yourself because, for example, I am all over the place. I scream, I yell, whatever. Malcolm, for example, he is never angry. Never.
Well, it's repressed. You can't never be angry. So the question is, will he one day find it, and will he be willing to release it? Or will he
But
enter a stage of denial and refuse to go in?
Yeah, he says that the only person who can really make him angry is me.
Well, yeah, of course. Great. So,
He
you're
says, like,
going to need to
never
slap
been
him a few
angry.
times. Well, sometimes you need a thorn to take out a thorn.
Yeah.
So in order for John and I to take out our poisons, we chose to create certain conditions where we could do that.